Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi, this is Jeffrey Combs.
I'm Connor Trinneer.
I'm Dominic Keating.
Nana Visitor here.
I'm Andy Robinson.
I'm Erica Larose.
Admiral Forrest here.
And this is the Shuttlepod Show.
The Shuttlepod Show.
And this is the Shuttlepod Show.
And this is the Shuttlepod Show.
And this is Shuttlepod Show.
This is Shuttlepod Show.
Shuttlepod, pinkskins.
A Coca-Cola for John and Nola. A refreshing thing we think just when you really need a drink. Coca-Cola. That was one of my
placement
songs.
already.
That's right.
Gonna go and do my convention thing. Got my costume on going now. Yeah, we're having a ball. It's Star Trek, y'all. Hey, down the order. Beam me up.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Shuttlepod Show. Today we have very special guest, Gates McFadden. We'll be answering your fan questions, doing some Star Trek trivia, finding ourselves on Connor's remote island, and much more. I'm Erica Larose, but before we move on, we have a special message from Andrew Robinson.
Like, subscribe, and join us on Patreon.
Thanks Andy.
You do it great every time.
He's great, Andy.
Oh, boy.
God bless.
And now for our hosts, Connor Trinneer and Dominic Keating.
Hi,
guys.
Hi, darling. Hi, Erica.
Yeah, we're here in the rain.
Yeah,
We
no kidding.
are.
God,
It
it's
does
been
not
Sunny Los
stop.
Angeles. No, I know. My parents are coming to visit from Washington. My dad this morning was like, "How's the weather?" I said, "Well, you're bringing it with you."
Yeah.
Wash is loving it.
Incredibly bad.
Incredible.
Wow, very happy.
I've never experienced it
I've
like
been
this.
in a remodel and it has cost me so much.
I
in time
can't
and money.
imagine.
No.
Because
You don't wanna
we're
know.
kind of neighbours. I mean, I could throw a bag of weed with a
Unbelievable.
rock from my house to
Yeah,
hers.
I wish you would.
We're very excited, Gates. This is really an honour to have you in the chair this week in the jump seat. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, look who we got. She is, frankly, one of the jewels in the Star Trek crown.
Oh, thank you.
An enduring beauty, an actor's actor. I mean, you have been round the world with this talent. And as someone once said to me, it took you all the way to the end of the pier and perhaps beyond.
I like that.
It really is a treat to have you in the chair this week, Gates. And it's been such an extraordinary thing to see you back on the telly with such an applause.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Thank
really-
you.
it's really great.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Big round of applause. That opening scene in the first episode is badass.
It's
Yeah.
And you nail it.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
You are an enduring beauty. You look fantastic in it too. What was it like getting the band back together?
Well, it was fantastic, actually. Once we talked to the producers and we all put our input into the storyline, because for Crusher in particular, she's kind of important in this particular storyline, and I wanted to make sure that it was going to be balanced, not just completely, what a nasty woman not to have told Picard, because that's very easy. And so we talked about it a lot. I didn't get, nobody gets everything they want.
Did you have a lot of input? Was there discussion?
Oh, compared to before, absolutely. There was discussion because I said I'm not interested in doing it if it's not balanced. Because I'm really not. I think it does a disservice to women.
Yeah.
Life is complicated, and yeah, there are people sometimes who are really
I'm learning that.
would I not tell the father of my child? I would tell the father of my child, but I'm not Dr. Crusher. I'm not up on Elios, in that, and it's not Jean-Luc Picard.
In the fourth quadrant,
Who I feel is definitely a target. I mean, he's been a target for First Contact, all sorts of things. He is a target. And so I think it's complex. I had to argue my point of view. You don't get always your point of view, but I got some of it. And I think it's going to be up to the fans. I say wait until you see the end.
There's going to be some...
Because I feel that there's an instinct. I think women have really strong instinctual feelings. It's something that happens when you give birth to a child, that you have very powerful instinctive feelings. And I think that's a lot of what was probably going on, or this is my choice to make, that was going on for her. That
The actual
there was-
reveal scene between you and Patrick is just
Oh, thank you.
top-notch stuff.
What a luxury to be able to have that kind of communication coming into it. I mean, truly.
Well, that exactly. Hello, really different. I was watching some Norwegian. I always watch these Danish noir things all the time.
You do? You like that?
I
You
love
like
it.
the dark?
That's like, yeah. Well,
Yeah, Death in the Tunnel.
Then I always go, gee, I feel so much better about my life.
Right.
I think it works that way. It's the power of negative thinking.
My 2 cups of coffee's not so bad now.
But there was this one female protagonist, and she said, why is it that men act like it's an obligation to listen to a woman? And I thought, that's a really interesting line, because I think that happened in old Hollywood a lot.
Yeah.
It's an
I'm
obligation.
squirming a little bit right now.
It's sort of like, it's often, hey babe, what can you do for me? And I think this is really cool that we have. I think it's a generational thing, and I'm happy to be wrong about this, but I do notice that if you look at the lower decks, just you look at the way Terry was so open, was a big fan himself. He's grown up much more with the internet. We didn't have the internet when we started TNG. No. We just didn't have it. You didn't have all the iPhones and everything. So it's a big leap we've made. So to be able to discuss what your character might or might not be doing, and to feel that you have agency to go, let me see how I feel. I'm excited at the possibility. Very excited. Very thrilled that someone's going to bring us all back. I think we all have been chomping at the bit to do some more acting with these characters, just to see where they have gone through these years. Just as we, as actual people, we all run into each other at conventions. We see what's happened, like what's going on in your life. Oh, really? Did that happen? So let's see where we can sort of channel it and see what happens if we go back to our characters.
Did you feel any of that in the films? No.
No. As
Wasn't
I
enough
said
time,
in New
was
York
there?
on one of the at the Y 90-second Y question thing we were doing, I went, wait, was I in those movies? That was my response.
It really shows, doesn't it? The chemistry between just you as human beings, as you say, having known each other all these years, and your cast was particularly tight after all these years. You've done Christmases, you've done Thanksgivings,
Right.
you've
Right.
that chemistry's been there, and then to take it into a professional setting again.
It's
With all the chops that we grow with,
I mean,
because we
isn't
mature.
everybody great? Like Jonathan is phenomenal.
Fantastic.
I mean, really, it's so wonderful. And Michael Dorn, phenomenal.
Yeah, Michael is just, he
It's
blew me
so
away
cool.
last
Yeah.
night. I mean, it's
Totally.
I want to get him back in the chair because we had him just before.
And he looks
started.
amazing.
Oh,
He looks
amazing.
amazing.
And he did not want to have the white, and he does. He looks amazing.
He really does.
Foxed
but
it up.
also, they cast the young actors so
Yeah.
well.
The English kid as your son is terrific.
He's terrific,
Yeah.
but all of the people who have tiny parts,
the
they
chap
could be
playing
the star next time. They are so
Yeah.
good. They're right on the money. It's
Captain
great.
of the ship
And Todd
is
Todd
brilliant.
is sensational. He and Terry go
Sensational.
back. I mean, I think Terry wrote the part for him. He is a fine
do, don't
actor,
they?
a fine human being. Yeah, they go back.
Yeah.
He
12
did
Monkeys. They
12
did
Monkeys,
They've
yeah.
known each other. I think he's cast in everything Terry's done.
Oh, really?
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Now, Terry wasn't he Brannon's assistant?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so he's grown up through the ranks. And
Is that
Totally.
Terry?
That's Terry.
Shut the front door.
Yeah.
I knew I should have been nicer to him. Is that Terry?
Yeah.
He's really lovely. He's such a good storyteller.
Well, I never.
Yeah.
Well, gosh. Is this the only season you think you'll do? What do you think? What are they saying?
They aren't saying anything, but I know Terry would love to. I think it would be a great idea. I think all sorts of legacy people could get on it. I think that's something that he's talked about. It's a fabulous
I'm
idea.
dead.
Sorry, Connor.
I'm dead.
No, but people.
Everyone
come back
says
from
you
the
can come
dead.
back.
They do. It's
if
sci-fi.
they have a good doctor.
That's
Sometimes
right.
it depends. Although I killed a lot of my patients first season.
I'm going to make an appointment.
Was it shooting out in Santa Clarita and not at Paramount? And were the sets just the same ultimately when you walked on?
No, it was very different.
was a different set?
It was cozy house time when we did at Paramount, with the exception of Stage 16, which was Planet Hell. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
But we had our trailers right in front of 6 and 7 and then 9. It was really great. And of course, that show was brightly lit. Everything had a different vibe. In the scene you were talking about with between Patrick and I, that's nonverbal, I literally could not see him, his face really close. I mean, I saw his body, but I could not see his face. So it was just, you're just doing it.
His mood, yeah.
Was that an issue? For,
No,
the actor?
because I know what I was playing. I could see him, so I'm imagining, and it was powerful.
The voice is there.
It was powerful just to do it that way, because we do have a long history.
Right.
And it's a joy when that happens.
It really,
when there's, when there's someone who you've known for a long time and you've acted different things with them, but then you're looking again, it's like there's love. There's a depth.
There is.
You're still doing your
Another
character,
dimension,
but it's a gift. It's really beautiful.
That's what Michael said, working with Michelle Hurd, who he'd not worked with before, but he said just to get back into that character at a later date and then to be with a consummate actress and get to he said it was like, this is why I do it. This is why we do it.
Well, it's so nice to walk in and you know the pros you're working with. And they are pros.
Yeah, but again, the sets were really dark. So many times I was like, are we lit? I mean, can you even see us? It wasn't even about beauty lighting. It's like, are we lit?
Right.
But it showed my lack of understanding on how fine the new instruments are. They can.
Was it a Sony Red, or have they moved on from that Sony Red camera that was? They've moved on. There's some lenses now and cameras that just pick up light in the tiniest way.
Wow.
And same thing, sound is so much better. People can be talking like this and it can sound beautiful.
Right.
I think that's interesting. I know it was harder for Patrick to hear sometimes because people spoke like.
Right.
But again, it works beautifully.
Yeah.
It sure does.
And it wouldn't have worked on our soundstage originally because the sound would not have been picked up in the same way. So.
Those cavernous sound stages where it all just disappears.
Yeah, but this was much bigger.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was. It was dark. I mean, but the ship, when I walked on and saw that ship, I was like, the bridge, I went, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. It was beautiful.
They spent some money, didn't they? It looks like they spent some money.
Yeah, they did.
God bless.
Yeah, it looks like a film, doesn't it?
It sure does. It really
then you
does.
must go back and look at the bridge and be like, what was this? TNG.
I know. But you know, that's what
we said we wouldn't mention anything before season 4.
No, but see, I think that's what's so wonderful about even having a chance to sit and talk with both of you. We've seen all these iterations. Each one has had something fabulous. Doesn't matter which one was more popular. It's like you look at what the creative people were trying to do, what the given circumstances for the actors were. And I think it's very impressive because, when I was handed my first plastic tablet in, 87 or something, I'm like, okay, it makes so much noise. You can't do anything with it. And then it starts to make sense. And now that's all I'm doing at home.
Right.
You go, well, yeah, we've moved on. And what has changed? And obviously the way I would look at a TV show, so many shows I'm ahead of it. Mm-hmm. And when I find something that's different, cutting edge, and I'm not ahead of it, I go, wow, bravo. That is hard to do.
Yeah.
That is the benchmark, isn't it? Particularly for those of us who have been behind the curtain and seen the smoke and mirrors. If you're catching me unawares and I can't catch up, and I'm not, and then you're keeping my attention, and I'm not looking at that actor's performance, that lighting, that camera setup, that's when I know, I'm really in your story.
Yeah, the story's
I'm in your world.
There.
Yeah.
And I also found just one more thing that I still break a lot of props.
You and Connor.
Well, I was the prop actress. First of all, I had more props than anyone for quite a few years. Okay, but I broke quite a few of them too, and I did that with the rifle.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I broke it twice.
Thank God.
I know, and they were like, No, this is pretend.
Now, they say that about dancers, because you started as a dancer. They say dancers are the clumsiest bitches in the world.
Well, this is true.
But you see, they have to be so precise in their professional
That's right,
life.
that you just let it go.
That
It's
when
true.
they're not on
that's
point,
interesting.
it's like, I dated a ballet dancer. She broke everything in there.
It's all elbows and kneecaps.
Usually you break your own toes. But see, I started learning dance, but I never was what I would consider, in the same way of Nana, for example, a dancer. I have a major scoliosis that I think if I hadn't done the dancing, I would have probably had a really awful posture. So the dancing actually helped me. Oh, I mean, I love to dance. I love to tap dance still. I'm very happy someone's on a piano and I'm just,
Can you
improvising.
step ball toe and
I can totally do it.
I want to tap dance.
I can teach you, actually.
Really?
Yeah. No,
I've been thinking about this a lot
But
lately.
the most
I don't know
fun
why.
thing is, you can, with or without something, you can listen to the music and it's just amazing. It's like drumming. I would have loved to have been a drummer too. I think that would have been another career choice because it's rhythm, and rhythm is it for me. So that's where the dance helped me. But I started acting little, community classes when I was 8.
Did Mum get you into it? Was it Mum?
Mom
Yeah.
and Dad both loved it.
No, did they?
Oh yeah.
And Mum was Lithuanian. Did I read that somewhere?
Yes, you did.
I wasn't particularly aware of that until I
Yes,
read
we
that.
ate a lot of potato pancakes, kugeli, lots of potato
Yeah.
dishes.
I see it in your physiognomy now that it's,
Except I look now more like my dad. My coloring was more like my mom's. My dad, my dad has these, and my dad has this.
Right, all right.
Yeah, my mother has more of a square face.
Right.
But she had great eyes, and I had great parents. They were great.
Did either of them have aspirations to something like it?
I think they both did.
They did.
My father grew up in the Depression. My father was extremely good looking. I mean, seriously good looking. When I would go to something in college and I'd bring my dad, they'd assume we were dating.
Wow.
Everybody. No, he was a very handsome man, sort of between, if you can mix up these faces, like Cary Grant, Buster Keaton, Tyrone Power, and sort of put them together,
Jeez.
and that was kind of my dad.
I want to date him.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he, I think, because people always thought of him that way, I think there was always this thought of, wouldn't that have been great? But he didn't ever practice dance or anything. He just was a very handsome guy. He grew up on a farm, but he became a hardware salesman. It was really tough in the Depression.
Surely.
So, like, he could not wait to get away from the farm. It was a dairy farm. I have a picture of him with his arm in a vat of cheese. It's like he was good looking. Anyway.
So what did they think about only daughter or
only daughter? I have an older brother.
And what did they think
but
about
my mother was the one who really loved theater, wanted to go into theater. So she's the one who got me. Like above my cradle were toe shoes, like the red shoes. Okay. So it was
from the manner born. You were.
It was that was this, and I went to modeling school.
Right.
It was just. And I had white gloves, and I'm telling you, it should have been a sitcom because I would get these gloves like the first time I had them when we went shopping, and I never had these on. And so every surface, I just went like this. And they were so black, and I got into so much.
Oh my God.
But that's what it was much more of a clown effect.
What was your first piece at school? What was the first Gates performance?
Gates performance. Well, I was still Cheryl, but
you were. That's right.
That's right.
You're a two-namer.
I'm a two-namer,
Yeah.
but it is my real name, Gates.
Yeah.
I think I was the fairy princess. I was one of the princesses. My mother made a costume for something. I'm sure I played a shepherd somewhere, but I don't even remember that. But I remember this little place called the Coach House Theater. That's where I did some of my first things, and then I acted when I was in, like, I had the lead in the 8th grade musical.
I'm always amazed at what was it? What was the musical? Do you remember?
Well, it was unbelievable. Princess Zanita from Magonia. So it's called, what was it, Princess Zanita maybe? I don't know, but it had really amazing lyrics like, A Coca-Cola for John and Nola. A refreshing thing we think just when you really need a drink. Coca-Cola. That was one of my
placement
songs.
already.
That's right. And you're from Akron, right? We were just talking.
Yeah, I was born in Akron, Ohio, Akron General Hospital. My father worked in Akron. And so our first, we were part of a duplex on Main Street in Cuyahoga Falls. But it was the Akron area, Summit County. And then later, when I was 7, we moved to Silver Lake, and we had this empty lot, and we built the house. It took 20 years. I mean, it was...
From the ground up.
Oh, yeah.
Silver Lake here
Silver Lake, which was this beautiful little lake, really cool. They used to have a steamship on it. And my father used to go when he was a little boy there. And it was sort of not a resort, but just a fun, fair place to go. And it was good because my mother really wanted my brother and I'd have good schools. And they had, at that time, they had really the best school in the area. And it was grades 1st through 8th. So they had a music department. I played the violin in an orchestra. They had, theater presentations. So and it was a small enough group, and I could walk to school and back, even though it was it was about, I don't know, a mile. But we were safe. Everyone felt we were safe. And my mother, that meant she could go to her work.
Right.
Yeah.
So they both worked. Whereas if we had been now, it's very hard to do.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I walked to school and I was in kindergarten.
Yeah, me too.
I drive my junior in high school to school.
I know.
I got
different
run
times.
over walking to school when I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
I was chased to school when I was in kindergarten. I remember.
Well, we're supposed to go through those things.
I know. Yeah.
But what is it about Ohio? I mean, you were just saying Akron itself has a list of...
Yeah, LeBron James, Pat Benatar, home of Devo.
What's in the water? I shouldn't say that with what's happened lately, but don't travel by train either.
Look, it was... Whoops. Okay.
You got to break it.
All right. Okay. I will. I know. Now that you've said it, it's
Take
probably...
that away.
I think it's just, it's a state that has a lot of presidents, too. There's something about where it is. It's not really East Coast. It's sort of very, very beginning of Midwest. I've always felt it where I was, which was northeastern Ohio. It's much more like it's Pennsylvania. It doesn't feel any different to me. But I think it's because it's a nice place to grow up, but I wanted to see the world. And
yes.
And also, it was very interesting at that time because there was a strong conservative movement. There was Barry Goldwater, different people. And, for example, my father, when I went to France, I got a scholarship to study there. And so my father was like, well, I am just need to be at home. I like the United States. I don't need to go.
How did Macron think to go to
well, then, when I was cut ahead when I was doing Labyrinth, I had enough money to bring them all over.
Oh.
And I put them up in a chateau in France, and I took them around England. And after the chateau, my father said we were having coffee. And I know the cafe in Paris where we were. And he went, doll, I think you're right. I think it's important to travel.
To get out there.
Yeah. And I went, yeah.
How old were you when you applied to go to the International Lecoq School?
Everything, there's so many flukes in my life. Really, genuinely. He did a workshop, his first ever appearance in America at Harvard. He did, I can't remember how long it was. Sometimes I think it was 3 days. Sometimes I think it was 3 weeks. At any rate, I think it might have been 3 days.
But you met him at that time.
But I met him and I did well in it. There were, only 30 people, so you were noticed. And he said, I offer you a scholarship to come and study with me. So that's how it happened.
Wow. Was it Commedia that you were seeing, or was it all?
No, he did sort of everything. He did masks. Commedia is really, really hard.
I know.
Really hard. So he would maybe talk about it. But what we did was he did a lot of his movement analysis. He did a lot of the choral work, which is totally brilliant. It's something I used a lot in my teaching. It's imagining the stage is like this. And so if you have someone comes on and they stay there at Tita, so how are you going to keep the stage in balance and what happens If you have two people, does it automatically look like conflict? It's about, it sort of was directing, acting, and we used to have to improvise and also know what the relationship
At all times.
which was really hard, but so neat. So he brought in many, many things. For him, mime was silence, the study of silence. And if you study that, then you begin to study why are words necessary? What do words do that you can't do in silence? And you start to then go into text. But his whole thing was trying to be original. And if you wanted to come up with something, write your own text, do this, do that, or do a brand new interpretation of something.
Right.
There's a lot of silence in that scene with you and Patrick.
Exactly.
It was beautiful.
I think the breathing and everything, I loved that about Lecoq's stuff.
How long were you there? A year?
No, 2.5 years. And I did a
long time.
workshop with, then I also came back as his assistant at Harvard.
Did you learn French at the time?
Yes, I did. Sink or swim.
Parlez bien français.
Right. It was definitely improvising. If you didn't speak it, you weren't going to go too far.
Does the training that you received there influence, because you've taught a lot,
Yeah.
does it influence what your
Absolutely.
process is? And,
Absolutely. I had studied Meissner technique and some Stella Adler when I was in school. And also Morris Karnofsky was still at Brandeis. I didn't work a lot with him, but for a little bit.
He was there?
And also we had a company of actors, several of whom had been blacklisted in the McCarthy era, who were our acting company. It was pretty amazing.
Wow.
So we had quite an age range,
Right.
You had undergraduates, graduates, and then you had real actors who had gone through the McCarthy hearings.
hiding out in Brandeis?
Well, by then, of course, it was fine. But Howland Chamberlain had been in Orson Welles' movies. I mean, it was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so you learn a lot. I think everything does. I would try to teach Lecoq's methods because that's why people hired me. I didn't go out trying to get these jobs. It just sort of happened. And it was only because he didn't want to teach in the United States. He had his school. So he said, no, I don't want to do it. Why don't you hire her?
Did the choreography come out of Lecoq's training too? Your choreography, did that come out of having done?
I would say it's a mixture. If I hadn't done kick line and ballet and point and all of that, tap, I wouldn't have done choreography probably. But what he did is he opened up what choreography is. So I would say I use his work particularly when I direct. I am pretty good at stage picture and composition and the relationship of the audience to the stage. That's something that I got from Lecoq. It matters. It matters if the audience thinks they can just sit back and watch, or if they don't know what's going to happen and they are part of it. And I don't mean that you're coming out and sitting on their lap and doing gags. I mean, they don't know if a scene's going to happen back here at Atwater Village. That's the first show that I really, well, other than Crack Whore Galore, that was the first show I directed. Crack Whore Galore was my first. It was very successful. But this other one, there were scenes that happened in the back hallway that people couldn't see. I shot video. There was a car going around Atwater Village, and you'd see it on the screen. Then they'd come back
Pretty
in.
cool.
Wow.
And, I changed spaces. It's as if you would magically, you think you know this room, and then all of a sudden someone presses something, and there's a whole other room behind that's got a scene happening. That's my happiness place. I love exploring that.
I love the idea that it's true. I had 2 years of training in his technique from teachers from Lecoq. And I probably was successful maybe 3 times when you come out from behind, when you put the mask on.
God.
You'd get out,
Hard.
it'd be 3 seconds and they'd say, stop, turn around, take the mask off. And it was like, how am I going to learn this? But eventually, when it happens, the audience is so engaged with what you're doing. There's either it works or it doesn't.
Yeah,
and that's it.
and it's true with clown. It's true with commedia. I mean, I do think commedia is about the hardest because you have to be improvising, but you also have to go back and forth into scripted and an improvisation.
And it's much more there's a discipline to commedia.
Yes, in the way like Peking opera or something, you have to know moves, and you have to also, you're wearing a half mask.
Yeah.
When it's done brilliantly, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't have a mask, it's the stock characters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally brilliant.
But all that work alone, there's nothing more elegiac and beautiful than to watch an actor who knows how to walk across the stage.
Exactly.
That's really one
And
of...
that's the kind of thing that we would do. We would do...
Without it making it look like you're walking across the stage.
We would do a whole day of, more than one day, of just walking back and forth, just seeing what it is to genuinely catch someone's eye, the intentions would change all the time.
Yeah.
But, well, no, that's false. You seem very untruthful there when you did that because you're too self-conscious of this. And when you stopped, you didn't keep walking. And, all of that. It's fascinating.
Yeah, briefly, when I taught acting in graduate school, the first thing I ever did to non-actors, I said, here's the exercise. You're waiting for the bus.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do that and a way to not do
There
that.
is.
And if you're falsifying it and you're doing too much, it's obvious. But when you have those little glimpses of the truth, it just...
It's powerful,
it's
isn't it?
It's incredible.
Which bus are you getting?
That's so great.
Are you late for the bus?
Yeah.
Where's the bus taking you to?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can get so subtle. I mean, I loved getting to the point where then I'd go back to those basic exercises all the time. I'd get the group and I'd have all these adjectives written on paper. And I wouldn't even remember what one I gave them. And they'd go up to do waiting at the bus stop, but I'd hand each of them a different thing. And so it would be like, be as large as you can be.
Yeah.
And I'd see what they would do with it. And some people would just like suddenly seem so gigantic, but it had to be truthful. It couldn't be, and I love stuff like that.
Yeah. Mike Lee's made a huge career out of it.
Mike Lee.
Mike Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think he ever actually sat down and wrote a screenplay from scratch in his life.
Really, I know he did the improvisation, but he didn't.
He just gets he gives the actors these exactly as you did, and then they bring 3 or 4 characters. He works with them for a bit. He picks one of their characters. He introduces them to the character that this actress has done out of her for, and they meet for the first time as these characters, and then they just start improvising.
I love.
He starts taking notes.
Yeah, I love
before you know
his movies that I've seen.
You start to...
The other thing that's interesting is you start when you're improvising and you do something that's like, your students will do something and it's like, you go, that was brilliant. And then, of course, they try to recreate it and it's horrible.
Yeah.
And that's what I would like the audience to realize. The craft of acting is also that. Taking 4 weeks to get back to how brilliant it was when you did the first reading. And that's when you can do it then every night and you understand. And you can make it new.
Yeah.
You can make it new again. You make your thought process different, and suddenly it feels like a different part, even though the audience would not necessarily pick that up.
Right. Yeah, you're baking the cake with the same ingredients, and something's different about that day every single day.
Yeah.
So who taught you the Lecoq stuff? Do you remember?
What were their names?
Timmy Lecoq.
I don't remember what their names were. They were a married couple, and the sweetest people until you were in front of them trying to do an exercise. Because, the belief in his technique is so strong from the people that, like you said, he doesn't want to leave. He wants to send his people out to teach. And, we were told constantly, this is the way that we're doing it. All right. The same way we were trained. Well, and that's it.
And there are people who it really doesn't work with that method. There are people who I think really go, it's too harsh because, if you're putting out and everything and it's like, no, that's not, c'est pas ça, no.
Yeah.
You have to learn, and that's what even someone like Tawny Newsome, who's great and has done so much improv with Second City, you finally fail so much that you're like, okay, fine, let me just try again. And you quit worrying about someone not thinking you're good. It's more about, okay, what can I do differently now?
It's almost about not performing in a way.
Yes, it is. It's that question of craft, truthfulness, don't look like you're trying so hard. It's that whole mishigas. Yeah. And it's endlessly fascinating.
How long were you in Paris?
Well, I did the first group thing. I came back to do the Harvard Hasting Pudding show because they paid me so much money and I was like busking on the street in Paris. It was a tough time. So I was there. So that makes it then more like 2 years. And then I went back and did a workshop on buffoon with him once.
Were you there like around about 68, or was that too
I
early?
was there 70.
So you just missed the real sort of street corner, you know.
Well, no, I was doing a lot of street corner.
You were doing
Yeah. I'm still doing it, honey.
You heard it
It's
first
a little
here,
slower
kids.
now these days, but I'm still out there.
Oh my.
You were going to ask something. What?
Yes, I wanted to know what's your favorite thing about teaching, because you've done quite a bit of it and you seem very passionate about it.
You know, I am. It burns you out after a while, but there is nothing I like more than learning from new talent and trying to share whatever knowledge I have. And I love that nurturing process. The part I didn't like was the corporate, how big the theater departments and the universities became just like big corporations. And it was different than when I grew up. It was just something, I don't know, maybe I'm just a hippie, but I feel, I like it when people, again, I mean, there have been a couple people in all those years that my method really didn't work for them. And I'm not personally upset by it. I'm like, yeah, right. They should have the right to find someone who they really work well with. Because some people aren't also ready to take down their walls. And I wasn't someone who was trying to be that kind of a teacher. I had been around too many male teachers who were like that.
Right.
I always had a problem with the power structure and some of the male, you know, it just was.
It's a different era.
It's a different era. And I think in any situation, you want to treat your students with respect and not get emotionally, or don't blur the lines until after they've graduated, at least. I mean, something, you know. Because, boy, there were a lot of male professors who were...
Were you teaching undergraduate as well as graduate?
Both. Yeah, most places. At USC, at Tisch, I was hired specifically they wanted me to do clown work and direct something. At Brandeis, I did, you know, tons of stuff, and I directed big productions.
Were
there.
you working as an actor at the same time? In the
No.
night? No.
No.
So you would. Yeah.
I had fallen into it. It was,
Yeah,
you know, instead of
I got
waitressing,
that.
I got the Lecoq, you know.
Right.
So I got a job teaching. I was
Did you have
tears.
aspirations to want to act professionally, or
I did.
Yeah.
I wanted to direct. My aspirations were to change the world. I didn't have a clue about the industry. I didn't understand you needed agents. I didn't know any of that.
Right.
So I felt this responsibility to work in a group and collaborate and change the world, come up with some ideas, something that would be brilliant. And I was exposed to Lecoq's probably first student, Ariane Menuchkin, who did 1789, which is the 1789, a play about the French Revolution. Right. And then I was lucky enough to see several of her productions, and they were life-changing for me, literally. They were so brilliant. They opened up so many
I know what you mean. I
ideas.
saw Simon McBurney, who was.
Well, he was a Lecoq person.
Was he there with you? No, but
No,
a bit
I
after
wish.
you.
He's
I
so
know.
brilliant.
Him and two Polish lads did Théâtre de Complicité.
Yeah.
I saw them in Edinburgh in like 84, 85.
Genius.
Changed my
Yeah.
theatrical world.
Simon McBurney is totally brilliant.
He's brilliant, yeah.
And he's worked with one of the most avant-garde theater companies in Berlin. Oh, it's with an S. How do I say it? Anyway, he does all these things all over, and they're all completely different.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the place I want to live.
Still doing work?
Yeah.
Yeah, he shows up in sort of British spy things a lot, playing the sort of the M character, the wizard behind the. You know, he's an extraordinary man.
He really
but
is.
he has you never know it from his film work, but his mastery of Lecoq and that whole art form is just remarkable.
You know, and he did an ensemble, the one he did with the German company, and I watched it online. You could pay to watch it online, and it was Beware of Pity, which was a book, and he based it on this book. And the actors had microphones. They'd play different parts. They'd pull over a table, and that would be a balcony. It was so good. And they only had one costume and one sort of glass cage, like a costume show thing. And that was really the only set piece. Everything else was kind of pulled around. And in the 60s, we learned how to do that kind of mime. I learned Marceau mime and all of that. And we knew how to create our own fun stages and stuff. But like Simon McBurney and Ariane Mnouchkine, they took it to this other whole level. It's such a high level of
inventiveness.
Totally.
And out of nothing.
Completely.
It is quite extraordinary. So you ostensibly you're a teacher for quite a good while, and then.
Well, I started I mean, there was a point where I took this leave of absence because I loved my directing.
And you were at Harvard. You've been some places, haven't you?
Well, yeah, please. No more than you,
I went
darling.
to Hamburg too.
No.
Hamburg.
But it's more that I was missing something. I was also getting very burnt out. I loved my students, but like my productions, I had huge sets. They were magnificent sets. They would have been Broadway style sets. But that could never have happened, for example, in LA theater or even at the Ahmanson. I mean, they were huge because you have a group of students doing this for free. You have slave labor.
Right.
But I missed something. And actually, friends of mine I was dating a guy for a long, long time. And he was at Yale Drama School, and he was in the first program for administration. And so I was teaching at Brandeis by that point. I'd come back and gone different places, but then I was offered a job at Brandeis. So I was up there on weekends. Actually, a couple times people introduced me to their parents saying I was a fellow student, which was a riot. I was their same age, but I certainly wasn't.
Say, you probably were, weren't
I was
you?
the same age, but I wasn't paying tuition. But it was amazing just to have a chance to see these performances. Christopher Lloyd doing The Possessed by Dostoevsky, by an amazing Polish director, Andrzej Wajda. Wow.
That must have been something.
Wow. It was incredible. So I knew James Lapine, who did graphics at Yale Rep. And then I knew Des McAnuff. And both of them, at kind of around the same time, were going, why aren't you acting? I mean, you studied acting for so many years. What's the deal? And I went, I don't know. I mean, they said, you should do it. And they both were really egging me on. And then James did his production in New York, and he became a director. And very soon afterwards, he asked me if I would be interested in auditioning for Midsummer Night's Dream with Bill Hurt. And I don't think I had my equity card, folks.
Wow.
I don't think so. It was very close in that first year. This is all in that first year. And I had taken this leave of absence and made a decision that I wanted to do acting. So then the following 6 months later, I auditioned for James Lapine, and it was between me and Diane Venora, who had graduated from Juilliard, for Hippolyta.
All right.
And then he was so nice, and he came back because we both had auditioned, and he said, "You're so different. Here's the thing. Nobody's ever seen what you've done as an actor, and they're a little worried about this.
Right.
So, but I want you to be in this production. So, is there something else that I can talk you into doing?" And so what he said is, look, Christine Baranski was doing Helena, and he said, she's getting married or going to a wedding on this Saturday night. There'll be 2,000 people in the audience. Will you go on as her understudy and then also play a fairy in the production?
Pressure, but yeah.
And I said yes, and I worked my ass off, and it was a huge life-changing night. 6 agents asked to sign me. Yeah, it was great. And everyone in the production was supportive.
That's nice.
I mean, it was amazing.
That was Christine when she came back.
She sent me
really cool.
flowers.
That's
And I
great.
did make some choices that were different from hers.
Right.
And they were just different. She's brilliant, of course. Right. But what an opportunity. And no, she's...
Those moments in a career when it just,
And so that's when I started. And then I got her in the... Carol Churchill cast me for Cloud 9. And I was a replacement cast, but it was the original production, Tommy Tune production at the Lucille Lord.
So you'd gone off to New York after
So
this.
that's what happened. And then I was like, yeah. And I still kept teaching at Tisch because I didn't solicit it. They knew I was in town and said, hey, would you do Lecoq Clown? And I said, yes.
Wow. Income.
Well, please,
A little bit of income.
please. Let's get real.
Here it is.
Exactly.
Let's get real.
Is that it?
I mean, teaching. No, and in New York, and the big cities are the worst because they know they can get anyone in New York. So they pay, and there are very few full-time faculty.
Oh.
Say
On purpose.
on purpose because they can get, and it works. It's a give and take. You don't want to be there for every single faculty meeting,
Right.
But still, it was great. Tony Kushner was there, Cameron Manheim, Rainn Wilson, Marsha Jean Kurtz. It was a cool period.
What brings you to LA then? How did that? What was the LA train?
It was called Star Trek TNG.
It was
Really? Was that? It took you
the
from New
first
York?
call.
I had auditioned for Des McAnuff, and I had come out. I was doing a play in New York, I think at the Vineyard Theater, and I had an audition, and it was for some big, incredible part in a movie. It was either Holly Hunter's part in the James Wood, what is the working girl thing, or was that the DeNiro? I had a
not 9 to 5.
DeNiro was going to play big, and I know I had a screen test with him, with Penny Marshall. And then he pulled out of the project. And it might have been that, but it was something that I was going on film for, but it had to be out here. Now it would have been having me to do it in my apartment, right? But then you actually felt special.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're flying
me out for a test.
Yeah. Someone else is doing my hair and makeup,
Right.
and someone else is putting the lights up. What a different world, right? But anyway, and I was on my way back to the airport, and I had like a couple hours. It wasn't. This is pre 9/11, I think. So you could go to the airport much closer. And my agent, who was a Star Trek fan of the original show, huge, said, "Listen, Paramount has just posted they are doing a Next Generation. I want you to go up for this." And I went, "Oh, come on, I'm not interested. I want you to do this. Please for me. Will you do this? Will you do this for me? Just go to Paramount." I said, "Okay, it'll be a cold reading. Please for me." So I did it. I walk in, nobody's there in the office. They literally were just starting this thing because I said, "Hi, I'm here for the audition. What part do you have?" I don't know. And she said, "Well, you know what? Take a look at all three and just choose the one you want." I thought, well, this is really going to be it.
Oh, my God.
They're really so excited to see me. And then, so I read the three scenes.
All as
And
Crusher.
the only, it was
you read
Tasha.
Diana.
Oh, I looked at all of them.
All of them.
Diana.
Diana.
And the comic scene, I swear to you, I'm telling you the truth. The comic scene was Beverly Crusher. And I went, okay, this is like an improv. It's when the virus makes her come on to Jean-Luc in season 1. Okay, it's from an old episode that was in the original series, but it was so much fun to play.
Right.
Nothing pithy in the episode, but fun.
Right.
Okay? And that's the one I did. And then I just left because I'm...
Star Trek.
And then they are really interested in me.
Straight away?
Yeah, straight away.
Have you gone home?
Yeah. I did the play. And I think time passed. I mean, I think it was like, I don't know. I can't even remember. But it's not like they called me the next day. I think I was the first person what I heard was I was the first woman they saw.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. I heard this. Okay. At any rate, I was also auditioning for Irene Malloy in The Matchmaker with Linda Hunt, Des McAnuff directing at La Jolla.
Jesus, Gates.
And I really wanted to do that part.
Yeah.
I wanted to work with Des. I thought he was super smart. And Kenny McMillan, there were a lot of really great actors. So I wanted to do it. And I worked hard on the audition and I got it. And so Star Trek, I got an offer from them and they wanted me to come back. And I think I did an audition with Will Wheaton, but then I didn't see how I could do both because they were sort of at the same time. And so I turned it down. That's why I turned it down twice. Is I was living in New York. I had a nice theater career happening and I had a side teaching gig.
Right.
Yeah. So
Things are going pretty good.
I mean, well, it was, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. I had all my girlfriends and friends there, and I had my theater company was EST Ensemble Studio in New
And
York.
this was a syndicated something, maybe a
And
season.
I had never watched the first one, guys.
Right.
I had done one pilot, I think, at that point.
Right.
And my character was replaced ultimately by a robot. So I felt I didn't quite hit the mark
What
of
an
what they were
auspicious
looking for.
beginning. What was your experience on camera at this time?
Zero.
Nothing.
Zero. And I was so clueless, you guys. I came from academia where I had a pretty decent, I was assistant professor. I mean, that's, you know, and so then Hollywood, I mean, you're a speck on the floor, and I didn't understand the politics, and I made every possible gaffe you could make. But anyway.
When do you get to come back and meet Gene Roddenberry then? And when does it start getting?
Well, I met him that first audition, and then what's funny is he called me after I turned it down twice. I was already doing the play, and he said, "Hi, I'm calling from my
Spaceship.
jacuzzi." Yeah, he did.
God bless him.
Oh no, it was this whole thing. I'm having a
From my
glass of
jacuzzi
champagne,
phone.
and I got my wife here, and I'm like, and he was going, "You too can have this." And the thing was, I can have your wife or who? The thing is that's like the opposite thing that's going to work for me. It is totally. That was like, that's exactly why I'm not sure I want to do this, right? Because that is not. I've always driven a crappy car. I don't care about certain things like a lot of people do, and it's great. But I'm into, let's come up with something original, which, you know, whatever is just as narcissistic as anyone else. But at least it's more about your own ideas and things like that. I didn't understand the system. I had no idea which agent to pick when I picked an agent. I was just basically clueless.
Did you like working, you know, because they're apples and oranges working on stage.
Oh, yeah.
In
For
front
me,
of the
they
camera.
are.
Yeah. I mean, likewise, it's some like it better. Some don't. I prefer stage. You get to tell a story in an evening. There's an arc to it, and you're shooting a TV show or a movie, and you're shooting the last scene first, and then you're going to go to page 47.
Right.
And, you know, it's piecemeal.
Yeah.
Was that a challenge?
Oh, yeah. There were so many things that were a challenge, but they were very, very clown because I you know, I think everyone else had much more experience in front of a camera than I had. And they were probably like, what is her deal?
What's that piece of tape on the floor?
She really doesn't understand what a mark is. And she really, and things would happen like this. I'm not kidding you. It really is. This is the flake I genuinely am. They would have a walking scene. You were supposed to stop when you hit that mark. And
explain it to me
and
real good.
and I think I went over a little or something, so they put all these sandbags there.
Oh my God! Are you tripping up?
But I actually am so into my character and scene that that's just another obstacle, and I carefully climb up over them, and they're like, "Okay, all right, she's just wasting our money."
She's 6 inches higher than she was.
Gates,
I
what are you doing?
It was totally that. So I think people thought, I don't think they thought it was real, but it was. I was really out of place and uncomfortable for quite a while.
That must be lunch.
When did you finally feel comfortable?
Oh, with that one, it took a while. It really did. I mean, I loved it. In the first season, I had some good things. I just was disappointed at where the characters seemed to be going.
Yeah, because you came and went, didn't you? And you expressed your, this is.
Well, it was, you know, I mean, it was nice to have.
I mean, that was ballsy, I got to say.
No, it wasn't quite like that. It was more that I would speak up.
Right.
And
how did that go down?
Not well.
Not so well.
Not well. And
I can't imagine it's 1980 something, isn't it? On a Hollywood set.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't
Look
good.
nice in the dress, honey, and shut up.
You couldn't do what like Jonathan could walk into Berman's office, throw himself on the couch, put his feet up, and they could just. If a woman did that, are you kidding me? You don't do that.
Yeah.
So there's a whole world that you're cut out of. And it really is that thing of, do men listen to women because it's an obligation, or are they interested? And that's a question. I felt it was more an obligation. And I don't think people in Hollywood, except for Rick Berman, who had seen me do a play in New York that I got great reviews, and and he had loved it. So I think he's the one who probably suggested me. He was an advocate. I don't think I was Jean's type of woman from the beginning, right?
Right.
I don't know that to be true, but that's my guess. But I think
Rick can be a real champion of talent.
Oh, absolutely. He's smart.
He can.
I think it's very awkward, though. Even Bob Justman. I mean, the way they were with men and the way they were with women was different. Period. That's not all women, maybe, but me.
How did you deal with that? Like, what did you have some coping mechanism?
Oh, I don't think I'm someone to really look up to on that. I did the best I could and burned some bridges, and I was. You tread water, don't you, in this industry? You with everything you're doing.
Oftentimes.
You want to do the best you can do. I do in all things. I want to make the best crumble I can make. I want to make the best, whatever. I not to be better than your crumble, but just because I know how good I can make them sometimes.
It will be better than
and I want it to be good.
I don't bake.
It's making the best crumble together is really what it's about.
Well, that's really nice.
And oftentimes you don't get to work with every actor that wants to help out make the best crumble.
That's true.
They want their crumble.
But why
to
do you
be,
think? And why do you think that is?
Fear and insecurity.
Yeah,
always is. Yeah. I never really got that bit about the part of the game.
And power. There are people.
And power.
I think that's.
I can't imagine how frustrating it would have been because you're a forceful woman. You're a woman of a mental agility, and to have to stand there and take some crap must have been.
I don't want. It's not a poor me who it could have been a lot worse. I know, but I think what was very clear is that I was not really as comfortable. And also what happened in the beginning, I liked everyone in the show. It was, I loved everyone. I thought they were brilliantly cast. I really thought they were terrific. But I was still doing my other show, my other play. So I was going back and forth. So all those first get-togethers, I wasn't really around. Right. And then second season I was gone. They didn't ask me back. That's the story on that. And then Patrick called and Rick called
because they put another lady in there, didn't they?
Yeah, but they wanted it to be like Bones, the original Doctor. So there was a lot of antagonism towards this Data, like the original Doctor had towards Spock. But Spock and Data are night and day. Mm-hmm. I mean, one is intimidating and the other one is just a child.
Yeah, right.
So I think that it didn't work as well. She's a wonderful actor. And I thought I was coming back to the same part, but they had a backlog of scripts for her character and not for mine. So when I came in, I was totally I was no longer the love interest of Picard. And they had said I was going to be everything that I had signed on for. And it's all going to be that way. Yep. And it wasn't at all. It took years to get it back. So, yeah.
Did Denise Crosby feel the same way a bit about what happened to her?
Well, I can't say what Denise. I mean, you'll have to talk to her.
She's been on the show. I had to miss that one, unfortunately.
I think that it says something that she and I never had one scene where it was between she and I.
Right.
And the only scenes pretty much that Troy and I ever had, and they didn't happen for a long time, many years, were when we were talking about men or exercising. Right.
Denise had said on the show that there came a point where she said, "Can't you just build like a little model of my legs from the knees down and just because that's all you're doing?"
Yeah.
I'm having like an eye captain per episode. Yeah. And she's like, this is not for me.
For 14 hours a day to do nothing.
Well, that's what's hard. And also, it's still is always going to be this interesting thing of how women perceive themselves. How sexy do you feel you have to be? how is there a middle ground? Like I never wore makeup when I was teaching at the university. Only on a day I was going to do something fancy or something. But otherwise, I looked just like they looked. We all looked pretty bad, but we did some good work. But it's a whole different world here.
Yeah, and it notices on a screen.
And you're judged.
Yeah, you are.
You're judged ruthlessly.
Yeah.
And also, women could rightfully resent all the time that is spent, thinking about this, and to have different outfits for everything. It's time, and I don't have a staff. I am my own. I have no assistant. I need about 7 of them, but I have none. Right? He knows. It's like, right?
Yeah.
So,
did you ever get an assistant?
An assistant?
When we were,
I had a publicist for about a hot minute, but never an assistant.
no, when I was doing the original Star Trek, I did when I had a child. I had an assistant for, several years. In fact, one of my students from Tisch came out, Bob Kirsch, who now is a producer, writer for a bunch of shows. But he came out, and I had confused him with another student, and he had this bouquet of flowers for me because I had said, yes, you can be my assistant. He asked if he could, and I said, yeah, and I'll pay you this. And he comes to the door, I open the door, and clearly I thought he was someone else. And he goes, oh, it was so funny. He goes, oh, this isn't going to work. And we laughed and laughed. And then then what we did is for their reunion, we did a whole video where he took over my house, and he's by the pool, and I'm his assistant.
Oh.
And we're doing it. And he was so lovely. I loved him.
Why did they bring you back, and whose influence was a part of that? You said Patrick.
Well, I think it's because Diana, the character, not to be confused with the talent of the actor, the character, it wasn't working.
Right.
And I think she was struggling with technobabble. And I'm just fabulous with technobabble. At any rate, I came back and suddenly I was a matron. That's what was happening. And Marina had this
curvy.
with she had totally different costume. I go, whoa, wow, I missed that costume fit.
And you had a coat.
It was like, and a wig, a coat and a wig. But anyway, whatever, guys. Oh, hey, I want to also say that all these different iterations of Star Trek, I actually really think they are all so remarkable, each one. And it's so cool that people are going back and revisiting them. And some are saying, oh, I don't like that. I thought I did, but I do. And then they go back a third time and they go, well, maybe it's not so bad. I'm glad to see DS9, Enterprise, Voyager, all of these new ones too. Mm-hmm. I feel they've each reached so many people who have gained a lot from watching them. So bravo. I think... and I love just getting to know all of these people that were cast.
I wasn't a fan, and have really become one. Yeah, specifically doing this show, and sort of doing the research and the work.
Yeah,
right.
In the Star Trek world.
It's just a lovely thing. We've so many guests have come on in the last few months, and just we've all known each other at these conventions, the circus, for so many years. And for such a long time, so many of us have never looked at each other's TV shows.
Right.
But we know each other. Well, having started this with Con and actually going to look at all your work and all the people that have come on, it's been a real, I got to say, I'm so proud to be a part of this phenomenon.
Nice.
I would also echo that with the fans that we've met over the years, that this has had influence, and a positive one, on the lives of countless people that I have met.
It's fabulous. It really is. It's so cool.
And as a life as an actor, to get this experience, it's really rare.
It is.
Companies come together, close, explode. You say you're going to stay in touch.
I know.
All best intentions.
Well, it's hard because also
you just don't life.
These dinners, when we go to conventions, there's like this long table and everybody's talking and the restaurants are loud. And I'm like, oh, I did want to ask Dom that, but he's at the other side of the table.
It's gone now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we'll do it more. It's happening more and more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, questions.
Okay, great.
Yes.
First question is from Tim Votopka from our Patreon. Will we get a chance to hear Gates Beverly say, "Shut up, Wesley," ever again?
Well, my wonderful space son, Will Wheaton.
Space son.
Well, I have 2 space sons now.
You do?
And 1 real son.
Yeah.
But my space son, Will Wheaton, never has liked that. So in deference to him, I don't do it when I'm around him. But Tim, if you want me to say it to you sometime, shut up, Wesley. Okay?
He'll love that.
That's funny.
This is a 2-parter. The first part is from Jober Velasco, who's right here.
Who's here?
Who styled me today. Thank
Ooh,
you.
I love it.
And this is a jacket from Kier Sinai. Love it. Thank you so much. How often do real doctors also refer to you as doctor?
It's happened not just doctors. I don't think it just depends on the reality. I mean, that is the antidote that was truly life changing. I use that word a lot, don't I? It's about the five things today I've said that was life changing. But at any rate, the one who came in, he was young and he had just learned, microscopic surgery in LA, and I was on Oahu, and they flew him back from Maui or somewhere because he was the only person on the island who did laparoscopy. Otherwise, it would be an 8-inch incision, and I'd have at least a 2-month recovery.
Oh.
So he's the one who they said, you have to get back to do this person. And so he walks in the door and he said, Dr. Crusher. I mean, it was
Wow.
It was classic. And I was in so much pain that he could call me whatever he wanted, basically. But what was hilarious and sweet was that he really did talk to me as if I cared about knowing of exactly what he was going to do and this and that. And listen, it was so lovely. So I owe him my life, but it was also extremely funny to look at the 8x10s that he showed me of my liver and my pancreas. It was sort of like, I will not sign them, get them out of my computer.
Oh, you got to frame those, put them in the back.
And the second part is from Sandra B. Have you had many fans say they became a doctor because of your character?
That I have.
Wow.
And
awesome.
I am blown away by it. And it's been both male and female. In fact, I just a couple of weeks ago met a guy from the UK who's very high up and working with Cedars-Sinai here and putting these deals together. They're trying to get a tricorder. I think it's called the tricorder something. At any rate, met him and he said he became a doctor because of my character. Of course, he was in the Swiss Alps. I don't think they had a lot of things to watch. I'm not saying that if he had been able to watch Baywatch, he still would have wanted to become a doctor. He might have been a lifeguard.
Right, yeah.
What is he, a chocolate doctor?
A chocolate doctor, a clock doctor.
Lee Nickel, hi Lee, you're awesome. From Patreon asks, you have achieved renown as an actor, director, and choreographer. Which is your favorite activity?
Cheryl.
My favorite activity would be to be able to put them all together and do a production, an original production. I have several, but one in particular I've been holding in my mind for about 10, 20 years almost, that I would love to do, a female version of Every Man that I've been working on. And it's outside, it's got all of the things. It's got some masks. It's also totally in real time. It's got video, all sorts of things. And I think could be magical, but it would take funds. So that's the kind of thing I would like to do, is use all of those skills in something, or work with people who I really love. I mean, that's what Picard was, working with people I love in something that was great. And I loved every minute of it. So it's the collaborative part and being creative. That's what I like.
Would that project be a one-woman show?
No, I'd want other people. And I might even end up, I always saw myself doing this part because it's really about your journey into dying. That It's about life and what do you take with you. But I think directing it would be just so much fun.
I'm not busy.
All right.
I'm available.
Next question. Kristen Beckham at Concrete Angel 16 from Twitter asks, I'm a manager at a bakery and know that you love to bake. What is your favorite thing to bake?
Oh, please, will you make me some gluten-free cinnamon donuts, cake donuts, and send them to me? I need them so badly. There's one place in Portland that does it, and I eat them. I make crumbles, even savory crumbles. I do a lot of things like that. And I love to make biscuits, and I love to bake cookies, and I'm a baker. I'm definitely a baker.
Cup for cup, King Arthur.
Thank God, cup for cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's some other good ones that are coming out now.
There are.
But I couldn't, I baked all my life and then went to France and just ate so much patisserie that you could not imagine. And then I got migraines and then I had to go off wheat.
Off the gluten.
Yeah.
Right,
Off
the wheat.
really bad. And dairy is bad for me too. I mean, I'll cheat with dairy sometimes, but I basically am oat milk and
Yeah, I was just over at Armin and Kitty's, and she made sourdough biscuits, and I said, I can't have one.
see, it's so hard. But
It's a
now they're
bummer.
coming up with
Didn't
better.
bring me one.
Well, honey, I will make you some great gluten-free biscuits because there's
Never.
nothing better. But we're going to have to wait for the remodel because right now I'm on one hot plate. We're 2.5
I
years.
don't believe how you've done so.
Good
what's
Do I
God.
get brownie points for this? Or are they
yes,
just
you do.
Stupid idiot points.
What's the ETA on?
Oh, please!
on the party?
You're just being cruel now.
Right.
No.
Okay, last question is from Big Stevie W from Patreon. Love investigates and how amazing you've been on Picard. Keep up the great work. I'm pretty sure my crush on Dr. Crusher when I was a teenager in the 80s is the reason I married a redhead. Laugh out loud. My question is, will we hear Connor and Dominic on Investigates soon?
Well, not soon. But I've already asked you, right? Didn't I say? I know. It's just I
Still in
don't.
the diary.
The thing is, I don't have a secretary. So, I mean, I'm asking people in the bathroom at Las Vegas, like, hey, Saniqua, hi. Hey, listen, I mean, but I have to organize it. And so I basically, at a certain point when I was shooting Picard or doing other things, I'm like, okay, I'll take whoever I can get. The first call I make, that's who I'm taking this week. But I try to make it, different. I would love to talk with you guys. I have to first see, is the producer going to want to continue? I had no idea how arduous it is really to.
Especially doing it solo.
You said you edit it all yourself. I mean,
I do that. I do it for hours and hours, and then I send it to our sound guy at the company at Nacelle, and he does the pass that makes it glossy and nice. Because I mean, I don't have the absolute detail.
Why did you take it upon yourself to want to do the editing? You just wanted to control the storyline of it, or
I think that's just who I am. It's not so much. If I felt really great at what but I was a complete novice. I didn't know how to do it or what I was doing, so I had to immerse myself in order to learn. And I love editing. It's like doing scene transitions, in the theater. I love transitions. I loved it when the episode I directed on Star Trek, I got to go into the editing room with him. And that's when you're learning something.
That's when the magic happens. When you don't really get that until you sit in the edit suite.
So it's like what happens in a theater. You can direct through rehearsals and then you don't really have any more control. The actor has control and the technicians have control, which is great. I just wanted to know about it. I wasn't into just being surface and having someone else decide what works and what doesn't.
Right.
I think that's the least I can do, and I'd like to try to learn something when I can.
Well, Gates's podcast investigates. How do people find it? For those of you who don't know about this already,
It's on every platform. It's not on Patreon, I don't think, but it's on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all of the platforms, and it's Gates McFadden Investigates. Yeah.
check it out.
cool.
It's fantastic.
Very,
I mean,
very
you do research.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what
I'm not coming on.
See,
There's a gap in Dominic's history that's about 4 months long.
see, what is so funny is that you do all the research and you don't get to half, not even 2/3 of it. But I have learned so much about this person, and I always go in there admiring them so much more, going, wow, they did that. Oh, like I'll look up someone's college and go deep diving into, oh, wow, these are the courses. And,
Yeah.
that's life to me. That is what interests me and makes me get up.
And those are the conversations that I want to hear.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know that I
likewise.
always reach it, but I'm saying just as a person to engage in research, to try to look at something new, that's a lot cooler than so many other things, then yes, I have to have a paycheck for something. It's nice to have a car to drive in, but I don't need to have a Porsche. If you let me borrow yours for a week, I'd be thrilled. But I actually don't want to have the worry of it, actually.
Right.
I'd much rather put my money in remodeling. That's a passion. So that's why.
What is one character that you've always wanted to play but never been given the chance? It's from Kristen Beckham on Twitter.
Kristen Beckham.
Have you done the lady?
No.
No. You'd be a good Scottish queen.
Well, I don't know. You know, I would love to do something like that. I know that I've talked with friends of mine about doing the Elizabeth and Mary Queen of Scots, but I would love it to be in some new form, some new script, or I don't have like one part. Although I wouldn't mind going back and doing some Chekhov. I saw the most incredible thing with Vanessa Redgrave and Francis de la Tour. They did a Chekhov. They did Uncle Vanya. And then after the show, you could stay and they would reverse characters and do some of the scenes.
Oh, wow.
That was, I'll do that for free. That's just so cool.
Wow.
So I'd like to do that. It's who I'd like to work with. I want to work with some good actors and basically just give me any number of role.
Frances de la Tour was famous for going backstage when she's seen someone in something that they weren't particularly. Oh, you. Oh, you. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it.
Hilarious.
What additional changes do you think are needed in the industry for women to truly achieve parity? And this is from Sarah Beverly.
Ooh, Sarah Beverly. Well, I think there is movement. I think there needs to be a lot more movement. I was watching on Netflix the other night, Feminists, what were they thinking? And, you know, they were panning up to the list of books, and I read every single one of those books. I was on the streets at that time in my life, and I really thought it was all going to change. And then it didn't. And then there have been times where it's coming back again. I'm happy to see it's better. I'm happy to see in Star Trek that there's so many strong women represented. I think that's fantastic. I feel that there's less emphasis on sexuality in terms of how they look and more on character. I love the fact that there's more humor with the women and that the women are having scenes with each other because actually women like to be in rooms with each other. So, you know, who knew?
Wearing the best dresses.
But we have a long ways to go. We do have a long ways to go because, again, until salaries are equal for everyone, including the maids and the whatever. And also, this is something I feel strongly about. If we would acknowledge, I don't care if it's a male or female who's raising the kids and doing the home stuff, if we would put a monetary value on that, even if no one ever had to pay a dime, it's about respect. It's about saying, you should be getting this much money, you know?
Right.
So that then the supposedly breadwinner, doesn't seem like they're
GDP.
just...
This was part of the, you know.
Totally.
It keeps the country going.
It's right.
You keep telling me you don't.
And so it's until we have that kind of respect. And again, I know some house husbands and they do an incredible job. And they, again, should feel respected because it gives you are giving in a very specific way. You are cleaning up, you are doing stuff. And there should be a value to that. And I don't think I ever thought about it in terms of what's an hour of your time worth until you start teaching. Because then you go, that's what they say. Well, what's an hour of your time? This is how much you're getting per hour. Right. And so then you go, really? $50 an hour is all I'm worth, you know, or whatever it is. And you go, and I went to college and did this and did that. No, I'd like $100. That's because you have to grade papers, you have to do this, and who's counting those hours? So that's why I think it does put value. Even if you don't get the money you want, you should get respect.
Yeah.
Well put.
Very well put. Thank you. Are you guys ready for some Star Trek trivia?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. You three against Mark.
Don't crush Porthos quite so much.
Oh.
He's trying to get away.
And we are playing for Patreon member Mars Devore. Hi, Mars.
Hi, Mars.
Hi, Mars. If we win, you get a new car.
Woo! Yeah. Question number 1. Who was the primary helmsman of the Enterprise D before Wesley Crusher took a permanent spot on the bridge? A. Geordie LaForge.
Oh.
B. Will Riker. C. Lieutenant Worf. D. Tasha Yar.
We all know this.
Well, we got green.
Oh, you're very good at that.
We think it's Geordie.
It was
he did it first.
Geordie, right?
Got
Was
it.
Geordie?
Correct.
Okay.
We're going with Geordie LaForge.
Woo! Question number 2. Beverly once made a bet with Riker, LaForge, and Worf where if she won, the three men would shave their beards. But if the men won, she would have to A, tap dance on the observation lounge table, B, go brunette, C, practice Mokbara on the bridge, or D, randomly spit shine Picard's head.
See, I'm pressing it.
Hey, well, you got it again.
What is it?
But she knows it.
It was redhead to brown.
Correct.
Apparently, I got the good one.
You got the good
Apparently
one.
you did,
She those fat fingers.
Just sits there spamming the button.
Yeah, I'm doing it constantly. Like,
Yeah. I watch Jeopardy
Yeah. Huh?
every night.
Really?
Mhm. That's why I've got the
Button.
that's why it just always is blinking on
Half
and
drunk
off.
and half asleep.
All right.
Question number 3. What book did Jack Crusher give to Beverly as his way of proposing to her? A, How to Stay Married to the Love of Your Life. B, How to Advance Your Career Through Marriage. C, Pride and Prejudice. Or D, Baby and Child Care by Dr. Spock.
Oh, damn. Are we just
My
killing it?
equipment is defective. So.
what is
No,
it?
go ahead. You go.
I have no idea.
I think it's,
I'm just playing for the
that's
team.
what he
I think
does.
it's Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Is it?
Pride and Prejudice is my guess.
Shut up!
I think it's How to Advance Your Career.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
2 to 1.
Doing this one.
and I liked him. I hope he was a good kisser. Man.
It was hilarious.
Great. Question number 4. On what ship did Beverly and Jack serve together under Jean-Luc Picard? A, the Reliant. B, the Stargazer. C, the Enterprise. Or D, none of the above.
Oh, God. If we don't get this one, we're like,
Well, I was,
oh, he
Who
got
went
it
off?
first. He knew.
Oh.
He wants it to be a tie.
Stargazer.
Enterprise.
oh, is it Enterprise? I thought it was Reliant. Okay, we got to confer. You think it's Enterprise?
I think it's Enterprise.
I wasn't listening.
Oh, I see. Oh, for Jack Crusher meaning the father.
yeah. I
Oh,
thought
I'm thinking
Reliant.
the new Jack Crusher.
I think it's
See,
Reliant.
Okay.
No.
What was it?
So Enterprise.
It's D, none of the above. Jack and Beverly never served together under Picard.
That's cheap.
Very
It's
cheap.
okay. We have a
All right.
tiebreaker if we need it.
Okay.
Question number 5. What play did Beverly direct aboard the Enterprise D?
Oh,
A.
God. I know this one.
You do? Get your fingers ready.
A, Henry V, starring Data and Picard. B, HMS Pinafore, starring Picard, Wolf, and Data. C, Cyrano de Bergerac, starring Reginald Barclay and Beverly as Roxanne. Or D, The Odd Couple, starring Trip Tucker and Malcolm Reed.
Oh, we got it.
Cyrano.
Yes,
Cyrano de Bergerac.
Yeah.
de Bergerac.
I was 8 months
Well, look at
pregnant
that.
and they put me in a corset. Yeah, I remember.
wow.
It's the only time I actually got nauseous was that episode.
Oh my goodness.
Did we beat Mark again?
You did.
Oh, you guys did. We don't need it.
Well, we-
No, that was 3-1, baby.
Yeah.
yeah, we won.
All right.
Yeah.
3
They
weeks in a
won for you,
row.
Mars.
I think it's the format. I think they're cheating the system. That's what I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for On a Deserted Island with Connor Trinneer. So here's the way it works. You're on a deserted island, obviously, and you're given the Bible and the works of Shakespeare. Now you have to select your cuisine, your author, your dessert, and your music. And when you select one, like say you pick ice cream, you get all ice cream, all flavors. So, and you get all of the musician's work. So let's start with your musician.
Can it be a group or is it just a musician?
Oh,
Group, yeah.
composer, you know.
Anybody?
Well, no, I mean a composer without the orchestra. That's like, I don't want to read the
Get the
scores.
music. don't get fancy.
Well, music is probably the toughest one. Because if I were on a deserted island, no, wait, you're not there with me, right?
Depending on your answer. So
I got to be careful then. Okay, well, I'm thinking
The thing he comes in at weekends.
I might ask for a siren. Anyway, I would say, I'm not going to go, I love classical music and I love jazz, but the songs I love, I don't want to, I'd get tired of
It's
just
the
one
Bay City
composer.
Rollers, isn't it?
No, it's like I'd be crying with Mahler all the time, and then I'd be always happy with Mozart except for the Requiem, and then I'd be. So I think I'm going to go more modern. I would choose Dead Can Dance. It's
No
a
kidding.
2-person group.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, because if I were truly alone on the island, if I could get rid of, unless we would somehow, we could do crosswords together. But at any rate,
Shit.
I think what I like is they do things where sometimes like this female voice, it's almost like a Gregorian chant. They're howling. And then other times it's like, it's almost goth, because I love Rammstein and I like really some.
Do you really?
Oh yeah. And Nirvana too. And I mean, I love everything but pop. I'm really not much into pop. Never have been. But I think they're great because they go so many directions. I want something that I can meditate to, or I can like, okay, got to get up and go get those clams. Got to hunt for whatever, right?
Real clams.
Okay, your author.
Since you get
the Bible.
Well, now the Bible though
And
was
Shakespeare.
multi-authored, so I would like to have a multi-authored, one big mother book,
Mother book.
You only get the
anthology
complete works
of poems. I would like poetry if I'm going to be
Yeah,
alone.
but you get the one poet.
But who's your poet?
There's no cheating around here.
Like Auden.
No, but then there's the Cummings. I mean, then there's
Cummings, that's to say,
Dickinson. I mean, and then there's. I mean, I don't know. No,
Can't have them all.
Well, then Dostoevsky, I love.
Well, you're a sad island.
Well, that's why I'm saying no. But Dead Can Dance is not sad.
No, but Dostoevsky's a little.
Poetry. All right. How about I'll go with someone modern. Alice Oswald, who did. She's wonderful. She won there's won tons of prizes, but she did this. I love the Iliad. I love Homer. I almost was going to say Homer, but what I love is her feminine point of view. She did her version of the Iliad, and it's extraordinary. Her poetry is beautiful. It's condensed, and she has all of the wives or mothers taking the heroes who've all been slain. It's when they come, their bodies are brought back.
right.
And so it's a poem about them, a few lines. But then there's Rumi. I don't know. This is very hard, but it has to be a poet. But Alice is pretty darn great. Yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
Your dessert. Now, in this island, you don't have a gluten issue or a lactose issue.
Oh, God.
I love that.
Wow.
That's really nice. Yeah.
But not
Yeah. Oof. Then, okay, there's this thing. It might be, it's going to be between, if it's not about gluten, because I always have to make crumbles because I love the fruit and the, strawberry rhubarb and all that. But if I really could have anything I wanted, I might just go for, what's the cream puffs? And then they have the chocolate sauce on it. And
Bonbons?
no.
Eclair.
You're not an eclair?
No, but it's better than that,
better
you
than
guys.
Cream
Better than
puffs
Eclair?
with chocolate
Yeah, it's
bonbons.
better. It's like a bunch of eclairs, and it's
Like a tower of.
yeah, it's tower and it's hot. And it's
Oh,
hot
well, they
sauce
make
and-
it's like a castle of
Wouldn't
it.
that be
isn't
good? No, I couldn't eat it every day.
What
So
do
actually, and this is my only dessert I get.
Yeah, but if,
Okay, then we're doing crumbles. No,
Okay.
we're doing like a raspberry mango crumble.
Yeah. Oh,
We're
yeah.
doing, Or we're doing rhubarb strawberry.
You had me at strawberry rhubarb.
Well, you know
I'm
what?
a pie guy.
Oh, well,
He's
okay.
very good at making
Yeah.
pies.
I'm huge of Ohio rhubarb. I had a big rhubarb patch. So I
Yeah,
love
Minnesota. Yeah.
That. Oh,
your cuisine.
well, it might be the time for me to learn Indian cuisine.
Oh.
Because, I bought a book that said 30-minute Indian cuisine, and basically it took me 300 hours. So I added a 0 onto the cover of the book. I think they made a mistake.
Do you get the 6-minute abs too?
I mean, it was so time-consuming, but it was delicious.
God damn it! I went and got those 7-minute abs in it.
Actually, that's false. I'm just being funny. I think what I would do is try to just go with very natural. If I had to eat raw, I could eat raw, natural produce. I'm pretty vegan. I eat organic chicken. I don't eat red meat and stuff. So it's really having great tasting vegetables and And then I'll have the crumble, so I got my fruit. I know there's an orchard, see? Right?
Of course there is.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there one other thing you'd mentioned?
A luxury item, maybe.
Yeah.
Dominic's bonus item.
You
Dominic has a timeshare there.
luxury bonus item.
Can't be a boat.
Some kind of
Sorry.
well, if we want to do things, I want to be able to write. So that's kind of a basic.
sure. Yeah,
that's great.
So I either
Even
need
paper and pen?
I either need paper and pen,
Yeah.
or I need a printer and a computer. I need something that I can, even if I don't have world
On a
internet.
desert island, it's going to be a paper and pen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that would be, and because as long as I have enough ink, I could also draw. I could do all sorts of things. So paper and pen that'd be it.
You're not doing too bad on your island.
You're
I
making
think
the ink out of the
I'll be
clam
all right.
blood.
Yeah. Squid.
Oh, I have to make my own ink and the clams.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Well,
Great.
Yeah. Well, I'll come visit if you'll have me then.
We have a gift for you for being here.
Great.
What did you
some more clam blood.
Very nice. How wonderful. Oh, how sweet. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Gates.
But going Pinot Noir, I love it so much. I love it so much. It's been so lovely.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you.
and
Thank you
this
for coming.
goes.
That was fun.
It's been charming, really.
What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She gets the car.
I can't believe you're living
you
in that
also
house. You really are.
Car.
Oh, and yeah, did I tell you we were going to get a brand new car?
Because he said we were thinking of having something, and and I said,
I said, would you like something?
a
She
bottle
said,
of wine, and I said, I prefer a car.
Oh, I
We
see.
aim to please.
there was no exclamation mark after it or anything. Oh, I'll show her.
Pretty funny. Like, subscribe, and join us on Patreon.